going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you updated settings and sliders for Dynasty mode within CFB 26. This is going to be a focus on realism, and it is simply going to be the modifications that we've been making over time to our original sliders set. There are not a massive amount of changes, but there are a significant enough number of changes that it is certainly worthwhile to make a video. So I'm going to go ahead and go through everything right now. I'm not going to go with quick screenshots at the beginning like I did in the last video. I'm just simply going to walk you through everything step by step here, but I'm not going to go so slow form that I talk about every single slider within the game, because we've already covered a lot of that stuff. So based on what we did before, a lot of this in the commissioner settings is going to be the same. We're on Heisman, fastest coach XP settings. We have a 0% manual progression XP penalty. We've talked at length about why we do that, but I highly recommend that you guys do that as well. Quarter length of 7 minutes with Excel clock set at 19. We do have wear and tear on, and we have wear and tear reduced, and we've actually noticed with even further testing that this is a pretty solid place for wear and tear to be. We have it set to 40, 40, 45, 40, 45, 40, 40, 45, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, and 65. I'll scroll up real quick so you guys can get a screenshot of it if you'd like. There is all of the tackling stuff and some of the recovery stuff. And I'll just scroll down a little bit so you can get all of the recovery stuff in one window. And then we move down to the transfer portal. We do still have this set to base, and we've played around with it, but we kind of like it set to base right now. It's working really well for us. 25, 55, and 55. And then we have everything else set to manual. As far as XP goes, we are still sticking with generally the same XP sliders. So here's an opportunity for you guys to get a screenshot of the XP sliders. Most of them set to 200, some of the more forgotten about and harder to develop positions set at 300. And then on the defensive side of the ball, same idea. 200 would be the base, 225 for corners, 250 for edge defenders, and 300 for D tackles and linebackers. 300 for both kickers and punters as well. And then as far as gameplay sliders, I suppose now would be a good opportunity for you to get a screenshot of the player skill sliders. And then I'm going to move down here and you can get a quick view of the CPU skill sliders. Here are the special teams sliders and then the injuries, fatigue, and all of those types of things, including player speed threshold and precipitation, which we have had modifications to. And then there are no modifications to the penalties. Those are all still set to base. So going back up, this is the opportunity that I want to take to talk about some of these changes because they have modified slightly. We are playing on QB accuracy for the user of 60 because of how easy it is to have inaccurate throws with really solid quarterbacks within the game. We've found actually that the only really consistent passing mechanic, if you want to avoid over and under throws, is actually going to be just the placement passing mechanic. So if you're using revamped and you're using placement and accuracy or classic, really unless you're the elite of the elite at hitting the timer and whatnot, you're going to be experiencing quite a bit of inaccuracy with your quarterbacks. And so we had to turn this up even further to get quarterbacks to a more realistic standpoint where the best upper echelon of quarterbacks are actually hitting their targets. We've had to increase pass blocking all the way up to 70, and this is where we've actually started to see some of the more consistent pass blocking and, some of the glitchiness kind of falling out of the game. Wide receiver catching, we've moved up one tick to 49. 48, we were starting to see way too many drop passes, and I think that might have something to do with some of the patching that they've been doing within the game. So we do have it up to 49, but it is still nice to see the occasional drop pass, and this has worked really well for us. Run blocking is sitting at 60 for the user, again to correct some of the glitchiness going on in the game, but it is not quite as severe as the pass blocking This has been relatively consistent for us. Ball security has stayed the same at 55. We have increased the user pass defense a little bit from where it was before. Pass defense reaction time is set to 49, interceptions to 45, and pass coverage to 48. We simply noticed that when you're playing the CPU, it is just too far of a difference realistically from what your defense can do to what their defense can do, even with their stuff turned way down. And so this helps just balance it a little bit, and it's not high enough that you're going to be getting super unrealistic gameplay, especially against other users, and tackling remains the same at 55. As far as the CPU skill is concerned, there have been some adjustments here. Quarterback accuracy is at 40, and I believe that's where it was before. Their pass blocking has been tuned down to 43. Wide receiver catching set to 48. Run blocking at 45. And then really, I think where some adjustment might be, I'm not 100% sure from the last video, but pass defense reaction time set to 40 with their interceptions at 25 and their pass coverage set to 40. Even on these settings, I'm noticing quite a few interceptions by the CPU. They get such a large boost, especially on Heisman difficulty, that this one really needs to be low enough to make it more comparable from one team to the other based on, one team being a CPU versus one team being a user. As far as special teams is concerned, I believe we had field goal accuracy down. We turned it back up. We've been just seeing a ton of missed field goals and, even easy field goals missed, far more than I think we really would want. And then I think that kickoff power might have been taken down slightly just because we were getting way too many kicks out of the back end of the end zone. This brings most kicks up a little bit. And then really where some of the most important changes come in, injury at 35. I think this might be down for us, but I'm not sure. Fatigue down from 70 to 65. This has been a little bit better of an interaction between the fatigue and injuries and the wear and tear system, because we were noticing a little bit of weirdness going on with players coming into a game healthy and getting wear and tear where they're getting subbed out of the game and not coming back on until late in the game. And taking this down just a little bit helped it enough that we haven't been seeing those issues quite as much. Now, you will see a decent bit of injuries and whatnot, and players, wearing down as the season progresses and as games progress, especially if you overutilize them. So, it's not going to be no injuries, but this will be a little bit more balanced. And then we turned the minimum player speed threshold down from 50 to 45. And I know a lot of people commented on this before. And yes, we did decide to lower it to 45 because that's going to create a little bit more separation between the fastest players in the game and the slowest players in the game. And this is opening up the game a little bit more, making the gameplay a little bit faster like it was in last year's game. And in my opinion, making it a little bit more realistic to college football. So I recommend that you guys try out just a slight tweak here, 5 points down on the player speed threshold, and I feel like you guys will love the way the game opens up. I will say it makes the game easier on the offensive side of the ball, so then that could potentially lead to some other adjustments from there. And then the other adjustment here, I know a lot of people were actually complaining about the precipitation / weather games within CFB 26. Funny enough, we never edited these sliders because most of us never experienced many rain games whatsoever, even playing as teams like LSU or Coastal Carolina or whatever that would experience quite a few rain games in reality. I think I played, no rain games within my first couple of seasons played on this game. So we did have to kind of modify this once we got more experience with the rain games. We've taken it down to 30 for everything just to reduce the impact, because the number of dropped passes and bad balls and stuff was just too excessive. It was getting to the point where you could not move the ball at all on offense on these sliders in precipitation. So reduced all these down to 30 and then moved the penalty thing down to 40. And having rain games since we modified these sliders, they seem to be a lot more realistic. You do still notice the impacts of weather, but it's not just completely overriding the game and making it a complete mess where you can't do anything at all on either side of the ball. That's going to be our updated realistic CFB 26 settings and sliders. Hopefully you guys will go ahead and test these out. Leave a comment down in the comment section below. Did you enjoy the original sliders? Did you make any tweaks yourselves to the original sliders? And if you have any opinions on the modifications that we made here to the sliders, please let me know that stuff down in the comment section below. Please make sure you leave a like on the video if you enjoy these sliders videos for your dynasties. Please subscribe if you're new around here. And as always, I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you have a good one.